Hello and welcome to part 3 of Northwest Newsweek's Year in Review. I'm Vasilios Bellos. Between August and October, several more First Nations celebrated the end of their dependence on diesel-generated power. The new Watay power grid connected Bearskin Lake, North Caribou, Wawa-Kipiwin, Casabonica, and Wunnaman Lake to the provincial power grid. Lee Noonan was in North Caribou in September and filed this report.
The North Caribou Lake substation now connects the First Nation to Ontario's power grid through the Wataynikaneyap power transmission line. It also serves as a connection point for communities further to the north. Following a blessing of the substation, the community celebrated the beginning of a new era of reliable energy.
I'm very excited and I was looking forward to this day. It has been a long time coming.
Chief Cornelius Benson says the old diesel generating station was unreliable, causing frequent outages, and didn't have the capacity to meet the community's existing needs, let alone support any new growth.
Now, since we have this main grid, we can upgrade more of our facilities and things that we use in our community.
And then last but not least, Ontario's Energy Minister Todd Smith was among the many dignitaries at the event. He calls progress on the Watay grid an extraordinary achievement.
1,800 kilometers of transmission line making its way through the tundra and the forests in northwestern Ontario, and that work being done 12 months a year in the middle of winter in very, very harsh conditions, and then a lot of the work being done during the pandemic as well. It is quite an accomplishment.
The celebration was particularly poignant for Wataynikaneyap CEO Margaret Kennequinash.
The need for reliable energy has been something that our community has been talking about for quite a long time. So I'm very happy to be home because this is my home community and to celebrate with the community members. It's always good to build something, a foundation for our future generation, because without it, where is our little ones going to be? And we got to be visionaries in this, in anything that we do.
Kennequinash hopes to have as many as 5 communities electrified this fall. The next will be Wawa-Kipiwin First Nation, which is celebrating their electrification on September 29th. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Also in September, the OPP's Professional Standards Unit launched an internal investigation into the actions of one of their officers in Kenora. It stemmed from a video posted online, which showed the officer attempting to euthanize a deer using the butt end of an axe. And a warning to viewers, the footage is disturbing. The video shows an injured deer out front of a Kenora home on September 3rd. One of the officers is then seen swinging the axe at the deer's head, and the axe slips out of his hands. In a statement, the OPP says this is not the way officers are trained or expected to deal with this type of situation, as the Police Act allows for the use of police-issued firearms to dispatch suffering animals. The video was posted online by Animal Justice, which lobbies for the humane treatment of animals. A spokesperson for the group called the officer's actions cruel and inexcusable. In October, NAN's Deputy Grand Chief reacted to a landmark $23 billion settlement from Ottawa. It came after the courts ruled Canada's child welfare system discriminated against First Nations children and their families. It's the biggest settlement in Canadian history, as more than 300,000 people could receive compensation, including thousands of NAN members. Lee Noonan reports.
NAN Deputy Grand Chief Bobby Narcisse calls the $23.4 billion settlement monumental. But he says that while it will be a welcome help to many claimants, it could also bring risks.
We've heard some of our chiefs say that a payout of this size could be like a death sentence to people that still have addictions issues.
Ottawa has agreed to separate funding to support claimants as they go through the compensation process. Narcisse says NAN will be working with its communities to set up those supports, but he acknowledges that arranging mental health and addictions treatments, or even basics like housing and water, can be easier said than done, particularly for fly-in First Nations.
There's still a lot to do. And, money doesn't really fix everything. There's also those social determinants of health that we really have to look at.
In a written statement, Indigenous Services Minister Patty Hajdu thanks the plaintiffs for pushing Canada to do the right thing, saying, quote, We will continue working with them on a historic reform of our program so that this never happens again. Indeed, for Narcisse, getting an apology and a commitment to overhaul the child welfare system might be the most important aspect of the settlement.
Never again will the Crown just take away our children from our communities. That they have to work with our First Nation communities to really develop a new, robust support system for our children, youth, and families that are reflective of their true language and heritage in moving ahead.
Narcisse says there could be many thousands of NAN citizens affected, each eligible for up to $40,000 in compensation in any of 5 streams. They will be working on developing a regional process to support claimants over the coming months. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
In early November, RockTech Lithium announced a major development in conjunction with the Red Rock Indian Band and the BMI Group in Red Rock. The parties are conducting an analysis to transform the former Norampak Mill site into a key component of Ontario's electrical vehicle supply chain. Josh Morano was there.
RockTech Lithium is a German company with a mission to produce lithium hydroxide for electric vehicle batteries. Friday, they signed a memorandum of understanding with the BMI Group and Red Rock Indian Band to explore a potential lithium processing plant where the former pulp and paper mill used to reside. RockTech CEO Dirk Harbeke says their Georgia Lake lithium deposit is just an hour away near Beardmore. The company is just about ready to go ahead with a full operating mine there, and he thinks this site at Red Rock fits perfectly into their plans.
We have decided a few months ago that after our first lithium converter in Germany, we want to build our next lithium converter here in Ontario. And we have screened a few locations, and we really like this location here at Red Rock. It is very close to our future mining site, and we feel really welcome by the community and by all stakeholders here.
Harbeke adds that the converter could begin construction as early as 2025. Paul Veldman with the BMI Group and Chief Marcus Hardy of the Red Rock Indian Band have been working on creating a deep water port in Red Rock and have been talking with RockTech over the last year. Veldman says his partnership with the First Nation was a top priority when signing this deal, as he notes the amount of jobs that will be created for the entire area.
When you think about infrastructure, loading trucks, unloading trucks, truck drivers, there's about an approximate 400,000 ton of goods on an annual basis that would come into this and out of this process. So each truck, each rail car needs to be driven, loaded, unloaded, each vessel. We hope to, obviously, a big part of this theme is reinstating the port. Those are all meaningful jobs.
Extremely excited. I mean, it's bringing hope to the communities, and we're actually moving ahead and taking steps to make this whole project come into fruition.
It's going to be great. So it's great for family life. It's obviously great for the community, for all the businesses in town. It'll attract more business. So it's it's a win-win for Red Rock.
Veldman says his company will begin working on the railway system as of this Monday, and if everything goes according to plan, the port will be completed by August 2024. Josh Morano, TBT News.
Also in early November, a candlelit vigil was held in Nipigon to honor the late Alyssa Turnbull. The 26-year-old's remains were recovered by police in late October, putting an end to years of searching. Turnbull was last seen in Nipigon in March of 2020. The main suspect connected to her death is deceased. 2 other Nipigon men, Brian and Nick Seuss, admitted to interfering with her remains. They received a sentence of time served in court after a plea deal in which OPP were led to Turnbull's body in Kaministiquia. For most of the past 3.5 years, the search efforts were centered around Nipigon. The vigil was held with Anishinaabe songs and a healing circle. Organizers said it was heartwarming to see so many people come out on a cold evening, with roughly 45 people gathering to pay their respects.
I believe Nipigon was devastated for the last 3 years, 7 months, and for this to happen, I believe there's closure for family and for us.
There's been a black cloud over this town. I mean, obviously it's lessened a little bit as time has gone on, but this kind of thing doesn't happen in a small town. You hear it a lot when you're on TV and stuff, but when it does actually happen in your small town, it's very disturbing and shocking.
Kuko says small towns like Nipigon do have a dark side. and that addressing issues like crime and drugs needs to be a top priority. In a written statement, Turnbull's family expressed their gratitude for all the heartfelt condolences they've received, but they are asking people to respect their privacy due to pain they say will likely take more than a lifetime to heal from, if that is even possible. Time now for a short break. When we return, we'll have a story about dialysis services coming to Dryden. Welcome back. In early November, some good news was delivered to kidney patients in the Dryden area. Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford announced that the Dryden Regional Health Centre has been approved to provide dialysis treatment for those suffering from kidney failure. It means those patients won't have to travel 4 hours to Thunder Bay Regional anymore. Josh Morano reports.
Since 2019, the hospital in Dryden has been working to get a dialysis treatment center. With renal services in Sioux Lookout, Kenora, Fort Francis, all at maximum capacity, Dryden patients are usually forced to travel to Thunder Bay for treatment. Dialysis requires patients to attend the regional hospital 3 times in a 7-day span. MPP Greg Rickford made the announcement at a virtual news conference along with officials from DRHC and Thunder Bay Regional.
We understand that patients in the Dryden area in particular need convenient care, drive up to 4 hours multiple times a week to receive dialysis treatment in other communities. We're very grateful for the support that we get from other communities. We're so proud to deliver on this initiative. It's a reflection of the city of Dryden, its community, its resilience.
The next steps are renovations and design planning for the 4 dialysis chairs that will be installed at the Dryden Hospital. Rickford says a 1,000 square foot renovation will make room within the facility, with more chairs planned down the road. Dryden Regional Health Center President Doreen Armstrong Ross is hoping for a fast-moving project, but she doesn't know how long it will take until patients can receive renal care.
There's a lot to be done, as you know, in these projects, so we'll have a better feel for that in a while, but you know, we understand the need and certainly want to get this done.
The project is tracking for the next couple of years. As I said, closer to the lower end of what constitutes a couple of years.
The move also affects those in places where the dialysis treatment centers are at capacity. Thunder Bay Regional Executive Vice President Adam Vinette says it's not just important for Dryden residents to have the service closer to home, but it also opens up space at other dialysis locations in northwestern Ontario.
Our regional capacity is nearing 100% in Kenora, Sioux Lookout, and Fort Francis. So the beds in Dryden are a welcome piece. Thunder Bay's capacity is around 90% at current moment, with long wait lists in our regional area. So this is great news and a great opportunity for us to have care closer to home.
Rickford was hesitant to disclose an exact dollar figure for the cost of the project, but says it's in the several $million range and expects the number to evolve as the project continues. Josh Morano, TBT News.
In mid-November, it was revealed who the 3 victims were in a fatal house fire in Deer Lake First Nation on October 29th. The Chief and Council of Deer Lake announced the funeral arrangements for the 3 men who died in the blaze. Photos of the 3 victims were shared on social media, identifying them as 33-year-old Kyle Meekus, 37-year-old Thomas Meekus, and 36-year-old Jamie Meekus. Several other people were also injured in the blaze, including one with serious injuries. A service was to be held at St. Andrew's United Church in Sioux Lookout. The 3 caskets were then flown home to Deer Lake the next day. Ontario Fire Marshal's office has still not released the suspected cause of the fatal blaze. Also in November, a proposed palladium copper mine outside Marathon received approval for its plan that will guide the decommissioning of the site whenever the future mine eventually closes. Lee Noonan had that story.
If and when the Marathon Palladium Copper Mine gets up and running, it's expected to have a 13-year lifespan. The province recently approved Generation Mining's closure plan, which includes an upfront financial commitment to fund the site's rehabilitation.
When mining's completed, the land is restored and the environment's protected, and communities are, integrated into that process.
According to Wallen, the plan is to dismantle the mill but leave much of the other infrastructure in place to be repurposed. The largest pit will be left open to gradually fill with water. That's expected to take about 20 years, creating a new lake. The other 2 pits will be backfilled with waste rock and tailings while the mine is still in operation, and the tailings storage areas will be replanted.
It'll be a bit different than what it looks like now, which is treed, but this will be sort of a meadowy type view with some trees and sort of streams and wetland type environment.
Some of the biggest concerns in the rehabilitation of the site are the protection of the nearby Pick River and of endangered species in the area, particularly caribou.
It can be food sources or critical habitat, overwintering habitat, creating landscapes that are a bit of a mosaic. So it helps the caribou stay away from predators.
As for chemical cleanup, they say the flotation reagents used to separate the commercially desirable minerals from waste rock will mostly be recycled and used up through the mining process.
We don't have to treat those before it gets discharged. We just bring them back in the plant and use them until they're all used up and stuck to the circuit itself.
Generation won't break ground on the project until all the financing and the permits are in place. The company expects the last permits to come through this year or early next year.
So the permits are the first thing that we're looking to get approved. And then after that, we'll go to the market and try to raise the final money to get it begun. So our hope it's going to be sometime in the second quarter of 2024.
Levy says he's confident the money will come through quickly once the project is fully permitted. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
In late November, Greenstone OPP released the identity of a Long Lake 58 First Nation woman who was apparently struck and killed by a vehicle in that community. The body of 41-year-old Kathleen Desmoulin was found just before 3 p.m. on November 18th at the intersection of Highway 11 and Beaver Street. Police previously said she may have been hit by a vehicle that left the scene before her body was discovered. They noted the vehicle would have front-end damage and may be missing a side mirror. The OPP Criminal Investigation Branch was investigating in conjunction with the Coroner's Office and the province's Forensic Pathology Service. But so far, police have been unable to locate the vehicle involved. Time now for another short break. Fort Francis residents were facing a hefty increase in bridge tolls to the USA in November. We'll have that story when we return. Welcome back to Northwest Newsweek's Year in Review. Tolls are going up at the Fort Frances International Falls Bridge. The dramatic spike in the price of multi-crossing passes was a shock to residents on both sides of the border, and the mayor of Fort Frances wants to see the privately owned bridge put into public hands. Lee Noonan has more.
Ajogan, the company that now owns the bridge, recently announced a new toll structure. The toll for a light vehicle crossing is up from $9 Canadian to $11, but Fort Frances Mayor Andrew Halikas says the big shock to the community was the new cost for a commuter card. As of January 2nd, the price will be tripled from $30 to $90 for a 12-crossing card.
That really caught people off guard, and justifiably so. They're upset, especially people that work over there. We have friends and relatives on both sides of the border, and some people go across, every day. So that can add up a lot.
The International Bridge is one of only 2 privately owned bridges connecting Canada and the U.S. The toll bridge was purchased from Resolute Forest Products by Ajogan LP, a partnership of Rainy River First Nations and the BMI Group, in March of last year.
It's an investment. They need to make a profit. They're not there just to provide a service like a municipality is.
Halikas says the company has been open and responsive, and that a November 7th meeting between Ajogan and government representatives at all levels and from both sides of the border was one of the most productive he's ever attended. Nevertheless, he thinks Ottawa should have purchased the bridge in the first place.
Council last term lobbied heavily that the government should be involved and they should buy the bridge and they should operate the bridge. Well, the government didn't listen.
Halikas is hopeful that the government is listening now. He praises Thunder Bay Rainy River MP Marcus Pulowski for endorsing the idea of a publicly owned bridge. In the meantime, Pulowski says his government is looking at possibly subsidizing maintenance costs of the bridge, parts of which are more than a century old.
Otherwise, that comes out of the revenues of the owners of the bridge, and in order to pay for that, it comes out of the pockets of people going back and forth across the border. So I think we're looking at short-term answers and long-term answers, and I agree with you. The long-term answer is a publicly owned bridge.
Given the age of the bridge, Halikas says the town is calling for a new bridge built and owned by either Canada or the U.S. Pulowski says that many more meetings will be needed before the issue can be resolved. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
It's getting closer to decision time in Ignace. After years of debate, residents of the community will soon have to answer the question, do they want a nuclear waste repository in their backyard? The township engaged a 3-party team of consultants who started interviewing residents in late November. Once again, here's Lee Noonan with the story.
Residents of Ignace are being asked to participate in a willingness study that will inform council's decision on whether to host a deep geological repository. An engagement team will be in the town from November 24th to the 27th, connecting with local residents of all ages.
The young people were coming to us and to the committee saying, we want a say in this, not just the older folks that are 70. Like, we're going to inherit this. You guys are going to be long gone when this comes along.
Focus groups are planned for kids 11 to 15, while everyone 16 and up will have a variety of options on how to engage with the willingness study process. There's an online survey, and in-person sessions are happening in November, January, and March. Event details are being posted to social media.
We're looking at is, if you're yes, why? If you're no, why? And if you're I'm not sure, it's like, do you need more information? Where can we steer you to direct it?
Residents 16 and up must register online before March 23rd to participate and must prove their residency in Ignace. The team will also be going door to door, hoping to speak with everyone who's eligible.
The consultant is going to try to engage as many people as possible. That's what their goal is, and ultimately ask the question, are you ready to make a decision?
The consultants will analyze the results and should report back to Ignace's Willingness Committee in June. At that point, the committee will make their recommendation to council, who will ultimately have to make a decision for the township.
NWMO wants to choose between South Bruce and Ignace, and this is our mechanism.
Any residents who have questions about the process or maybe missed that knock at the door are encouraged to reach out directly to the team or check out yourchoiceignace.ca. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
And that will do it for part 3 of Northwest Newsweek's Year in Review. Join us again on January 13th for the first new episode of 2024, featuring the top stories from around the region.